Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and we are about to go to the Geno Smith press conference live here on today's show. You're not going to have to leave this YouTube channel. The stream that you would see over on the Raiders channel is the one that you're going to see here, so if you want to be able to hang out with Jeremy Chuggs and I, the rest of the nation, you will get to see the actual footage of the Geno Smith press conference. What we're going to be talking about is obviously what Geno discusses. I also want to talk about the Jack Jones news that happened yesterday, so if there's anybody out there that's got any questions, comments, hashtag Raiders or Super Chat, Chuggs and I are going to be live for as long as the questions keep on flowing in today, or if there's any news that ends up going down. We already have over 500 people here in the building, and I want to know, what is your confidence level in Geno Smith as a QB1? But I also want you to think about it in terms of how much money the Raiders ended up giving Geno Smith, which 2 years, $75 million contract. He has incentives to be able to get up to 85.5, $66.5 million in guarantees. I'm telling you this right now, when you think about how good of a quarterback Geno is, and then the price tag associated with it, I do think it's actually one of the better quarterback deals in the National Football League. Though in terms of being a QB1, I'm probably somewhere around a 7 out of 10 on my confidence level. I believe in Chip Kelly. I believe in this coaching staff, and I believe when you look at the type of quarterback that Geno is, really one of the most accurate QBs in the NFL, you combine that with our coaching staff from top to bottom, there is a chance that Geno can be a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. What up, Antonio? He's going to go with a 9. Zalesbo here in the house rocking a 7. Big Papa's going to go 9. Brandon Jones is going to go 8. Evil Mitch said, Mitch, it's my birthday. Well, all I want for my birthday is a big old shout out to our sponsor, Game Time. And if you're looking for the last minute tickets and that lowest price guarantee, Game Time is going to help you do that. And I don't know about y'all, baseball tickets, can't wait to get them. Hockey tickets, can't wait to get them. And I love this time of the year. Playoffs are right around the corner for the NBA and NHL. Plus, baseball season is finally back. If you're trying to go to your favorite sporting event, Game Time is the app for you. I've used Game Time for the past few years, and I can't even tell you how many MLB games I've gone to because of Game Time. I love the last-minute tickets, the zone deals. It's easy to find and buy MLB tickets for every kind of event in your area. You're probably wondering, Mitch, what else do you love about it? The curated deals, the super deals, the seat views before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS. Huge shout out to Game Time for sponsoring the Raiders Report, and it does look like Geno Smith is getting ready to take the podium. So as soon as Geno starts talking, then we're going to kick it on over to the podium, which looks like they are just now getting ready to get it started. Geno is expected to take the podium at noon my time, 10 on the West Coast time. And if you are trying to go watch Geno Smith in action, download the Game Time app right now, because once the Raiders tickets get going, I know that there's only one place that I trust. I've gotten tickets for my fiance. I've got tickets for my future father-in-law. My dad, Chuggs, has got for Adele. I love Game Time, and I think you guys will too. That link's going to be down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. So yesterday, it was reported that the Raiders are at least going to try to move on from Jack Jones and get a trade. 3 hours later, they end up cutting him. My question to you is, do you agree with the move of moving on from Jack Jones? Give me a yes, give me a no. This was one of the talking points that, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of surprised how many Raiders fans were surprised that the Raiders were moving on from Jones, and it's because you saved $3.4 million. You don't need anything. And I think when you really look at the overall roster of how this team is going to be constructed, especially at the cornerback standpoint, like Jones was bad last season. We could all be honest. He was great on Christmas Day. He gave me some of my best memories watching that 63-21 blowout against the Chargers. But when you actually look at how he played last season, he was a liability in coverage, and I don't think anybody would disagree with that. The Raiders, this move also gives an opportunity, Ja'Cory to continue to shine. DeCamerion Richardson, Eric Stokes, and if I was building a team, I would have those 3 guys already on top or above Jack, not even considering the fact that you're going to go out and you're also going to draft a cornerback, which I would say for somebody that's had some of the off the field, somebody who, you don't know how much he loves football, has been a little bit of a locker room issue. I'm going to be real. Cutting Jack Jones, was it a smart move by the Raiders? Yes. It was a smart move. And it's a smart move because when you don't fit with this regime and then you're also a little bit of a headache, if Jack played the way that he did in 2023, I would have sat up here and said, no, I don't think it's a smart move at all. But everything that goes into this equation, it's an easy $3.4 million that you can save. We got almost 1,000 people here in the building. I see Larry Osborne says yes. My dad's going to go with a yes. Brandon Jones says yes. Fat Boy. What up, Fat Boy? Says yes. And it does look like the Raiders are getting set here to go to Geno. Now, again, as soon as Geno starts talking, I'm going to go to the video. If we get any super chats, any questions, I would preferably you wait until after the Geno Smith press conference ends up going down. And then, like I said, we're going to sit up here. We're going to talk. And I want to continue to talk and answer questions as long as you guys want me to today. I don't typically go live on Mondays, but when a quarterback that we just traded for and signed a brand new extension ends up happening, then we make shit happen. Does look like at least some people are getting set up. I would say the Raiders are probably still another 5 minutes away from Geno actually taking the podium and him actually sitting down. But as soon as he does, we're just going to kick it right over so you don't need to leave this YouTube channel. You can just stay here and you will actually be able to see Geno Smith talking to the media. Albert says Jack isn't a key player. He's a scrub. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. I think what the frustrating part about Jack Jones is he's a super talented player. And when he's on, like, let's be honest, he's a hell of a cornerback. The problem is the amount of times that he's maybe not motivated to go out there and make a tackle or making his own business decisions or somebody that, again, when you see how talented somebody is and how inconsistent Jack is, the one thing that he said I can remember last year was like, oh, some of these Raiders fans, they wouldn't last a day doing what we do. I don't disagree with that statement at all, but I also know this. If I had your athletic ability with my work ethic and a work ethic of a lot of other people around the nation, you'd be a lot better corner than what Jack Jones is. So since we are live right now for Geno Smith, what is one word to describe the Raiders offense with Geno as the top quarterback on the roster? How would you define one word to describe the Raiders offense? Underrated is mine. I think it's an underrated offense. I could almost say it is a underappreciated offense by a lot of people that are Raiders fans. When you consider the fact that over the past 4 seasons, the number one most accurate quarterback in the National Football League, it's Geno Smith. That's a true fact right there. Geno is also number one quarterback in terms of throwing the ball, explosive plays down the field. He is the most accurate quarterback, top 3, top 4 accurate quarterback on throws, past 10 and 20 yards. When you combine that and then you lock in the fact of how great Chip Kelly has been as a play caller, and then you lock it in with a wide receiver that, let's face it, Jacoby Myers didn't have any drops, that's going to be pretty good. Brock Bowers, one of the best tight ends in the National Football League, if not the best tight end in the league. You got a young man of Michael Mayer. Do we still need to draft a wide receiver or two? Yeah. Do we still need to upgrade in some other spots, maybe on the offensive line? I personally wouldn't mind upgrading on the O-line. But this is an underrated offense that I know has a few key missing pieces. Yeah, the Raiders did just start their live stream, but he's not on yet. And I'm actually looking at the podium, which is not on the Raiders live stream. I'm looking at another podium of like where the Raiders are at right now, and Geno's not even in the room. So as soon as Geno enters the room, I'll let you guys know. Bridget Rivera says potential, hopeful from DMAC12. And I think like that's kind of where you got to go if you're a Raiders fan. Mature from Rustin Long. I see DMAC, another hopeful in there. Okay from Steven. Big Luck, is there audio this time? There's audio every time, my man. There's audio every time. Albert, much love, Mitch. God bless you to all my fellow Raider fans. Remember, hey, Albert, shout out to you. Coach Prime from GZ. Undecided. And undecided is probably a fair word just because of there is still so many unknowns. Like if you told me right now, we're walking in week 1 of the Raiders regular season and this is the team that we have, that's going to scare me a little bit. But I'm also sitting up here going, well, I'm hoping that maybe we add an Ashton Genty. Maybe we go out and add a Jalen Noel, a Jaden Higgins at wide receiver. Who knows? Maybe the Raiders get really effing crazy and go Tyler Warren. And we didn't think that they were going to draft somebody like Bowers. Maybe the Raiders want to go Will Campbell, Armin Membu on the offensive line. A lot of different ways that you can go. And the fact that now the Geno Smith deal is officially official. The Raiders just tweeted it out. I think it's only a matter of time before Geno ends up taking the podium here. So here's my next question. If we're looking at what could be the Raiders' pick here at number 6, and there's been a lot of discussions. Like I saw a lot of people yesterday going, well, Mitch, because the Raiders are moving on from Jack Jones, I think that they're going to go defense now. I want to know down below where you think the Raiders are going to go with this pick. And as soon as I said that, Geno is now getting ready to take the podium. He's got my silver jacket on. He's got a Raiders hat on, and he's sitting down with Pete Carroll and John Spytek. They just sat down, so here we go to Geno.
All set? Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I don't know about y'all, but I thought Geno Smith absolutely killed that press conference. And, you know, one of my favorite things that he said was shout out to Marshawn Lynch. He's about that action. But you know that Geno Smith's about that action. You know that he's going to go out there and compete. And you could clearly tell he's got a great head on his shoulders. He's going to be a good leader in that locker room, somebody that Pete Carroll trusts. I mean, Geno said he would literally run through a brick wall for Carroll, and Carroll was basically like, not unless I beat you to it, essentially. Geno is a very underrated quarterback, and I think when people actually watch the film on him, you see what he brings to the table and why it's so good, and I think why a lot of Raiders fans are excited about the Geno Smith conversation, because when you compare or combine what he does really well with this coaching staff, with some of the players that we have, with 9 total draft picks, you can definitely see that there's some upside there. I love what I heard there from Geno Smith, no doubt about it. Good to have him a part of Raider Nation. The best quarterback that this team has had since 2016, Derek Carr. Did that press conference make you feel better about Geno Smith as the quarterback one? Give me a yes. Give me a no. I would say mainly I have seen the people in this live chat today, and most of the people that are here with us seem to be on board with the idea that Geno Smith's going to be the Raiders quarterback. But I also see some people down there that are still a little bit, on the fence about it, that are still a little bit unsure if this was the right move for this organization. I mean, I see TJ Parkinson, Juan Hernandez, Fallon, all going to go yes. Rustin Long says, I'm feeling pretty good. Rob Mann says no. Rob, my only question is, what more do you want to see from Geno? Or are you just like, I'm not sold on Smith yet, which is absolutely positively okay. Brian Lance says yes, and Robbins is going to go with a yes. I like Geno's mindset from Daryl. Well, how about this? I want to get some questions going. Use hashtag Raiders. If you want to skip the line and become first on our show, you're going to have to super chat in order to do that. But the way that this show is going to go is this. We got 1,400 people watching. I want to answer questions for the next 30 minutes to an hour. If I don't have any questions, then Chugs and I are going to hop on out of here. But if you want us to stay live for at least 30 to an hour, let's get some hashtag Raiders. Let's get some questions going. I want to talk about Geno. I want to talk about Jack Jones. I want to talk about the NFL draft. I don't always go live on Monday, so I would like to take advantage of this opportunity. Before we get into some of those questions, I got to show some love again to our sponsor here, Game Time, because this time of the year, it's probably one of my favorite times of the year because playoffs, they're right around the corner for the NBA and the NHL. Plus, baseball, it's finally back. If you're trying to go to your favorite sporting event, maybe even a comedy event, theater, they have all sorts of events. Game Time is the app for you. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Mitch, why should I trust Game Time? It's a question that I get asked very often. First off, I love the curated deals. This makes it easier to find the best price on great seats. The super deal, if you're somebody that when you walk into a store, you're looking for the best deal available, Game Time's going to have that. It's called the super deal. The seat views before you buy and that lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection. So again, terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS, that's CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today, and if you're wondering what time is it, it's Game Time. I have used Game Time to find tickets for basketball, baseball, MLB, NHL, all sorts of different. The one event that Chugs has been driving me nuts about is WrestleMania, which I would love to be able to figure out a way to go to that one in Vegas. But if you're somebody that's planning on visiting a city, where if you're going to visit Las Vegas, maybe you're going to visit, I don't know, Los Angeles, wherever, you go there for a weekend, you put where you're going to visit in the tab on Game Time, and they're going to tell you all the best places to go, all the best deals that are out there. I use Game Time, Chugs uses Game Time, and if you're looking for last-minute tickets, flash deals, views from your seat, and that lowest price guarantee, Game Time is no doubt going to help you keep it moving on the Raiders Report. Huge, huge shout-out to them, man. What'd you say for me, Chugs? Got a few questions rolling in here from Brian Baca. Geno will thrive with an upgrade of the line and another vertical threat. I agree with you, where, my number one favorite stat that I have given out there to any Geno Smith doubter is last season, the Seattle Seahawks faced an interior pressure rate of 38.4%. Patrick Mahomes last season in the Super Bowl faced an interior pressure rate of 38%. My point is, when people just give me stats and say, this box score, this box score, this box score, I kind of roll my eyes because I'm going, well, you're not looking at the entire picture, right? Like, I would go back to even when the people were saying, I don't know. I mean, imagine if fans were to look at you and go, well, this player on the Raiders wasn't very good because of XYZ on offense, and then you're sitting there going, well, his quarterback play was shit. No wonder his quarterback play was bad. That's why this guy was bad. And I feel like we did that a lot with wide receivers in years past. But when you look at Geno, his numbers when he was given good protection, much better. One of my favorite stats about Geno Smith, in indoor games throughout his career with Seattle, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions in 14 games, a quarterback passer rating of 110. The Raiders played 12 games this season indoors. Geno Smith for this Raiders team is a lot better, and I can't wait to show him and the entire world how good of a fit it's going to be. Let's go to Donald Carpenter, the first super chat that we got here on today's show. Always a big-time Raiders, but this is still a fourth-place team. I'm probably not going to fully disagree with that statement. However, though, I do think it's a lot closer than what people realize. The Denver Broncos are probably the team up there with the Chargers and the Raiders. They're going to be competing for second, third, and fourth. But the Raiders right now, I would say, are an 8-win team. An 8-win team, and you still have the NFL draft to come up. If you go out and you add maybe a Tyler Lockett, maybe you go out and you draft an Ashton Genty, you add a few other key pieces on offense and defense, this team can win 10 games because often, you don't pay a quarterback like Geno Smith. You don't make the trade for Geno unless you think that he can win. And what's funny is, all the time I hear Raiders fans talking about all that matters are wins when it comes to quarterback. Wins, wins, wins. Well, that's all Geno has done since joining Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks. He's never had a losing season. Hell, they went 10-7 last year on a worse team than what the Raiders had in terms of offensive line. Yes, they had good skill position players, but one of the worst O-lines in the National Football League. Let's go to my man, Jeremy Cole. What do you feel is our top 5 position needs in order, and how would you fix it if draft and what round? So one of the videos that I've been putting out, Jeremy, is I've been putting out targets. I put out a wide receiver, a running back video, and where you should target them through rounds 1 through 7. I would say right now free safety is a huge need for this team. Wide receivers a huge need for this team. Running back's a huge need for this team. Linebackers a really big need for this team. And those are probably my top 4 that I would just sit up here and say right off the jump. Cornerback's going to be a big need for this team. And I would say that you're going to see the Raiders in some sort of combination go best player available. But I don't know if it's going to be a Genty. It could be a Will Johnson. It could be a Genty. It could be an Armin Membu. And then another name that's been popping up for pick number 6, Jalen Walker, edge linebacker from Georgia. What up, Mario? What does this mean for AOC? I don't really know if it means anything necessarily for Aiden O'Connell. And, one of the good parts that Aiden's going to be able to bring you is he's a good backup quarterback that's played in 20 games in his career, started in 17. And he's going to be able to pick up a playbook, going to be a smart quarterback, a very accurate quarterback, which is what we know that he is. He's also going to be able to go out and execute the offense and practice. Having a quarterback like Aiden be a backup is also very critical if you're going to be an organization that wants to draft a QB on day 3. I don't see the Raiders taking Shador at 6. I don't see the Raiders taking Jackson Dart at 37, though I don't even know if Dart's going to be there at 37. I see the Raiders looking at a Will Howard, a Quinn Ewers, a Jalen Milroe, a quarterback that you're going to be able to get on day 3. And when you have that mindset, you let Aiden and that other quarterback compete. Aiden's probably going to be the quarterback 2. You let that rookie be the QB 3. You don't rush him because the deal that you gave Geno Smith is essentially Geno Smith's going to be the Raiders quarterback, no doubt, for the next 2 years. maybe even that third year, unless he is just really, really bad. Let's go to Jake. What up, Jake? Can you list the quarterbacks you like or that you think are better than Geno? Oh, boy. What's funny is I did actually do this before, and I have a list written down somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. So the video that I did where I did like a lot of Geno Smith film breakdown was I did this video at home, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. I'm going to try my hardest. The quarterbacks that I have ranked higher than him. I would say this, though. Like, when you just compare him with a lot of QBs around the league, to me, he's probably in that realm of a Dak Prescott, a Kyler Murray, I think he's better than Trevor Lawrence. But QBs that you know that these are solid dudes, but there is some inconsistencies. There's some unsureness about them, right? Like, Tua Tagovailoa, I think is another really good example of that. I believe Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Tua. But at the same time, I know Tua is an average QB. I have him ranked at number 14 on my list. When I go through and I look at all the starting quarterbacks in the National Football League, I have Geno Smith ranked at 14. But I could make an argument of why he could be 11, 12 in the top 10. I can also make an argument of why he could be 15, 16, 17, 18, and below that. And you can make an argument with literally like probably 8 quarterbacks in the NFL. I call it NFL purgatory, where sometimes somebody takes a leap forward. Sometimes somebody takes a leap back. It just a lot of times comes down to good coaching, right fit. I think Jalen Hurts is a great example of that, a quarterback that, some people didn't have as a top 40 quarterback just 2 years ago. And now I think when you ask everybody, people are going to go, yeah, he's no doubt a top 10. Sometimes you just got to find the right spot. For anybody else that doubts Geno Smith, look at Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon in 1999 was a journeyman quarterback. He was. Ends up going to the Raiders, ends up winning an MVP by year 37, or by age 37. 34 when he joined the Raiders, MVP by 37. I get that the Raiders were also built a little bit different back then, and that football has also changed. But Geno Smith is a hell of a quarterback, and again, when you compare him with somebody like this coaching staff, top 10 potential. If Geno Smith would have been the quarterback and Luke Getsy would be our offensive coordinator, I'd be up here sitting going, I don't know if Geno Smith would have been the quarterback that I would have gotten, right? I would have sit up here and said, hey, let's go get a Justin Fields. Let's go get a running quarterback. You got Chip Kelly. You have Tom Brady. You have John Spytek. You have Greg Olsen. And now you have somebody at Geno Smith, a very, very, very accurate quarterback. Let's go to Donald Carpenter again. But let me add, I'm trusting the process. And I hope that a lot of Raiders fans are just trying to do that to the best of their ability. I want you to trust the process. And I know it's a process that's a little bit foreign to some fans out there, right? I feel like Raiders fans are used to going out, spending a lot of money in free agency, going out and doing a lot of balls to the wall type shit, but it doesn't always end up working out. When you have a team that's building the way that the Raiders are building, it shows that they believe in themselves. Good organizations are built in the draft. They're not built overnight. And Pete Carroll and John Spytek have been able to build multiple different regimes, multiple different teams based on their ability to draft and find talent late in the rounds. The Raiders have a good staff, and that's why I want people to trust this process, because they are operating as a smart franchise would, but that's also coming from me where if this team is trying to win in 2026, 2027, over the weekend I sat down with somebody that interviewed Max Crosby, and I'll get some questions that are going to be answered here soon. But, one of the things that I asked Max is, why did you structure your contract for front-loaded deal where you're making 38, 32, and then you have $0 million guaranteed? And my mindset, it's because the Raiders have a plan. And I know a lot of people are sitting here going, we have all this salary cap space. Why aren't we going out and spending it? I think the Raiders' plan is, hey, let's just try to be better this season. Let's try to get to 8 to 9 wins. Let's do what we need to do, save some of that salary cap, and then in 2026 and in 2027, that's when we're going to go balls to the wall. That's when we're going to go out and try to win a Super Bowl. But you can't have this, I think, Super Bowl mindset unless you get the ball rolling in the right direction. And the Raiders are just trying to get that ball rolling in the right direction. And then they're going to try to push that B downhill in 2026, 2027. And then I think that's when a lot of shit's going to go down. What up, Rebel? I did research, and Geno did well when he played at the Rams and at the Cardinals indoors. His stats don't lie. I mean, the indoor stats, you're right, Reb, but When you look at what he was inside, indoors, and then also outdoors, it's mind-blowing of a difference. Indoors, okay, and again, small sample size, but 14-game sample size, indoor with Seattle, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 110. I mean, that's top 5 quarterback numbers. Like, you can hate Geno all you want. Those are top 5 quarterback good numbers. And considering the fact of how accurate he is, it doesn't shock me that he is so much better indoors compared to being outdoors. Also, when you're dealing with a shitty offensive line and you can't run the football, like 4.0 yards per carry is one of actually the league's lowest in the NFL last season. When Geno Smith over the past 3 seasons got 4.0 yards per carry, the Seahawks went 21-10. Imagine if you gave him an average running game. People don't realize how much shit Geno had to go through, and maybe it's because he was on the West Coast and not a lot of people watch Seahawks games. I don't know what it is, but one of the things I'm most excited for is watching Geno go out there and do his thing. And the other part is, like, if anybody out there loves connections, we know the Raiders do. Jeremiah Smith, cousins with Geno Smith, going to be coming out in the 2027 NFL Draft. I'll admit, you better have a top 5 pick. 2 years, yeah, Jeremiah Smith. Receiver from Ohio State, who I think if Jeremiah Smith was coming out in this year's draft, he might be a top 3 pick. I mean, he's probably the number 1 receiver. Not probably. He would be the number 1 receiver. Geno is much better, though, indoors. What up, Goots? Geno gonna be running for his life with this O-line. See, here's like one of my biggest gripes that I have with the Raiders. Do I think that this offensive line can improve? Of course it can. But this is a average offensive line. Like, I don't really think it's a bottom 16 O-line. You have one of the better left tackles in Colton Miller. Yeah, you got a little bit of an unknown of what's going to happen at left guard. Maybe it's Jordan Meredith. Maybe it's going to be Dylan Parham. Who knows? Maybe they go out and they draft somebody. I don't know the exact plan. You have Alex Kappa at right guard, which I don't love. Dylan Parham, though, also can play right guard. But Meredith last season was an 80 overall PFF graded blocker. JPJ is a top 5 center in the NFL. And DJ Glaze, yes, is getting ready to enter that second year. But what I didn't realize, and this is actually going to be a show that I'll put out tomorrow, just based on some interesting coaching connections that I found. I know SpyTech likes DJ Glaze. And for those that don't know, DJ Glaze was actually a top 30 visit with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with John Spytek last season when he was coming out of Maryland. He also graded out as the 51st best offensive lineman, which some of y'all might roll your eyes to that, but think about how many changes the Raiders O-line had. You had a different offensive line coach. If your rookie's able to go out and do that in year 1, and now you're expecting everything to get better, I don't think that this Raiders offensive line is much better than what the Seahawks offensive line was, and the Seahawks went 10-7 last season. I disagree with this take that he's going to be running for his life. I think the offensive line is one of the more underrated position groups on the Raiders. It's just we talk about it so much because of how much Spytek values the line. But if I talk about Rob Leonard the way that I do, where sometimes you just got to trust your coaches. I honestly trust what Chip Kelly does. I trust this coaching staff. And if John Spytek is this offensive line guru and he looks me dead in the eyes and goes, I'm okay with this O-line, then I'm going to be okay with this offensive line. And I think we all have to be. What up, Joseph Gomez? Appreciate you, man, tuning into the show again. We decided to go live for the press conference of Geno Smith, and we are going to stay live here today answering questions. And as long as questions continue to flow in, hashtag Raiders or Super Chat, I am going to stay live. Joseph, I'm excited, this season as an OG Raider. I know this is way better organization than the previous 2. The Raiders will rock the draft. You got to trust the process. I mean, Pete Carroll, John Spytek is light years better than Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco. Is out of this galaxy better than Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. And then is way better than John Gruden and Mike Mayock. And I don't even think that those are that crazy of statements to make, and just based off of some of the simple things that the Raiders have already done. I mean, the biggest thing that the Raiders needed to do this offseason was get a quarterback that gave them a chance to win. You can hate Geno all you want, but again, Geno has more wins over the past 3 years than Matthew Stafford, has more wins over the past 3 years than Joe Burrow. You can't tell me that Geno Smith isn't put on this team to win football games. Geno Smith is better than Jimmy, better than Aiden, better Derek Carr, better than Brian Hoyer. These aren't crazy statements. Better than Gardner Minshew. The Raiders went out, they got Geno at a third-year pick, or third-round pick, and they're giving him money where they're paying him as the 17th, 18th highest-paid quarterback in the NFL. This team's operating as a smart organization, and I am glad some people are at least seeing it. What up, Zon? Appreciate you. Mitch, excuse me, our division has tougher defenses than the Seahawks. I actually don't know if that's true, Zon. I mean, the 49ers, the Rams, Cardinals, and I get it. The Chiefs had a good defense with Spags. The Broncos had a very good defense. The Chargers had a good defense. It also goes year to year, which it's always going to be like that. But I don't know, man. Saying the NFC West didn't have good defense, I don't think it's fair. I get that the AFC West, though, has been pretty good. Let's go to Giovanni Tejada. We'll be going to Levi Stadium in June to see Metallica. We'll be rocking my Raiders gear, screaming, Raiders, in front of anything 49ers. Well, I'll say this. First off, be careful. Second off, love the picture. And if you are planning on going to Metallica, you might as well get your tickets on Game Time. Use promo code ChatSports. You're going to be able to save $20 when you do that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports. And if you're wondering what time is it, I'm here to tell you it's Game Time. Terms apply. First purchase only. Shout out to Game Time for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Now, like, big time deal. I don't know if you guys know this. The official ticketing partner of the Raiders Report, Game Time. The official ticketing partner of the Raiders Report. All right, y'all, we got 1,139 people here in the building, yet I see only 353 likes. If you bleed silver and black, and if you would do exactly what Giovanni Tejada here would do, screaming Raiders every time he sees a Niner fan, then hit that like button, because those are the people that I want to rock with. What up, Gutierrez? Colton Miller was trash last year. Maybe you're watching a different Raiders team than me. I don't know. I know Colton struggled at the beginning of the season last year because he was dealing with some injuries. But overall, like, when you say trash, right, like, what are we talking trash? Because if this is trash, an 80.6 overall grade, an 82.2 pass rush, I'll take a lot of trash then. Because I think one of the other things that people don't give Colton Miller nearly enough credit about, and it's sometimes why going to the offensive lineman is the right pick, an Armin Membu or Will Campbell. It's not always the sexy pick. But if you're Colton Miller, you stuck around through all the bullshit that he's had to go through. Like, you're getting paid as a left tackle. Sometimes left tackles get paid more when they got a big-name quarterback because you got to be able to protect that blind side. Miller has stuck through a lot of BS quarterback play and has still been able to play at a high level. And sure, he's gone through some injuries, but that guy is a really, really tough mother effer. Wears a C on his chest. I would say he's a top 12 left tackle in the NFL. So, again, like, maybe you're watching different Raiders games. Maybe you were watching Madden, our Madden streams. I don't know what it was. Because Colton Miller on Madden looks about this tall. But when you see that guy in person and you stand up next to him, I would say he's the biggest player on the Raiders. Maybe not named Dalton Wagner. What up, Sosa? How does this impact Jimmy G's legacy? I was going to say, this has to be a joke. I think what it goes down to is Jimmy Garoppolo just goes to show how bad and how dumb Josh McDaniels is as being a coach. What up, Donald? Smith is the best quarterback we've had in a long time. We need to get receivers now. Considering the fact that you got Brock, you got, Jacoby, and I do think Mayer is going to be used a lot more than what people think. Trey Tucker's got some down-the-field ability. Kyle Phillips, I would say, is the number one sneaky wide receiver, to keep an eye on that the Raiders could use a lot more than what people are thinking about. And I only say that because Kyle Phillips, I get he was signed really, really early this offseason, but that was also Chip Kelly's first ever recruit. First ever recruit at UCLA. And how many times have we said relationships, connections, this and that? And then when you look at the moves that the Raiders made early on, they went with guys that they believe in, guys that they trust. So I'm not shocked that they went out and got Kyle Phillips. I do think he's going to be used, again, a lot more than what people think. For me to come away feeling good about this Raiders offense, though, I need them to take a wide receiver. And the video that I dropped earlier today, this morning, was around certain wide receivers that I believe that the Raiders could target in certain rounds. And one of the guys that I said could be a round 3 pick, is the number 1 receiver I would say is most likely to be drafted by the Raiders. So please go check out that video. It's on the channel, down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Nope. Different guy. The guy that I talked about in round 3, I literally said in the video, the number 1 receiver I would say on the Raiders' radar, most likely that they draft, is a round 3 guy. Yeah, you think? Okay, fair enough. Let's go to Chris N. What was your favorite takeaway from the presser? Any insight clues from the front office? I would say, honestly, my favorite takeaway from the presser is that the Raiders, again, they have a clear plan in mind, and they're just trying to bring people in that want to go out there, they want to compete. And, for Geno to say that he would run through a brick wall for Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll will do the same. When your leaders of your team are thinking that way and you can get everybody in line, that's huge. I also think when you look at what does Geno Smith do really well, he is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. You can't deny that. The numbers prove it. Tom Brady did a great job of obviously being an accurate quarterback, but having control. And not only is it important to have control, but I do think one of the things that the Raiders have been missing over the past few seasons is a quarterback and a head coach that think aligned. I mean, think about all the bullshit with Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels. They did not think aligned. And that's going to happen when you have all these different OCs, all these different quarterback coaches, all these different head coaches. There's always going to be, misalignment at the top. I know for a fact Geno and Pete think alike, but also Geno's saying that he wants to, be like Max Crosby, put in that time, put in the effort, and go out there and do those things. When your star players are doing that, that's important. And you need to have a guy that's going to show up first and there last. And I'll be real with you, I got told by a Raiders player back a few years ago that Derek was one of the last people to show up and always one of the first people to leave. I swear to you on my grandfather's grave, that was a statement that I was told by a former Raiders player. So when you bring somebody in like Geno that's going to go out there and put in the time and the effort, thinks alike, and, go say he's about that action, carries a chip on his shoulder, and he is going to carry a chip on his shoulder. That, to me, is what I like. This team's going to go out there, and they're going to compete, and they're looking for dogs. Let's go to Raider Mitch. What up, Raider Mitch? Good organization, start from the top. And I believe we addressed that this offseason. Which was most important, Genty or Membu, is my pick. What's really tough about this question is it's not, to me, what's more important as the first pick, right? It is what you do for the rest of the draft. Like, if I told you get Armin Membu, Trevion Henderson, and that's your first start, I'm liking that start a lot. If you told me it's Ashton Genty and we're able to go out and get a Jaden Higgins, I like that start a lot. It's just what draft process gives you the best overall draft. We focus way too often on just that first pick, but there's so much more to the draft than just that first pick, right? I think a lot of people would look back at that 2019 draft and go, that was a successful draft. And why was it a successful draft? Because you found a guy like Max Crosby. Yeah, I get Hunter's not on this team anymore, but that was a good rookie contract that we ran into. Nate Hobbs was a great rookie contract that we ran into. But it's so concentrated on the miss of Cleveland. Josh was a good pick. Jonathan Abram was a miss. Trayvon Mullen, I would say, was probably a miss. You got to build the best overall draft. You have 9 picks to do it. Bottom line, if the Raiders pick Genty, I'd be okay with it. If the Raiders picked Arvin Membu, I'd be okay with it. Let's go to Raiders Smoke 89. He killed that presser. Chip Kelly, Geno can be special. And they can be special. And they're going to be a lot better than what people, I think, honestly anticipate. I mean, I was looking at Prize Picks the other day, and I know they're not a sponsor today, but for Prize Picks to have Geno Smith at 3,475 passing yards, it's like, do you not watch football? Are you not paying attention to what Geno's been doing? Because for Geno, I would say 4,000 yards is, if you don't throw for 4,000 yards, I'm going to go, that's a bad year than what I was considering for Smith. I am hoping that he's somewhere around that 4,300 yard mark, somewhere around 27, 28 touchdowns. Hopefully the turnovers, the interceptions are probably around like a 7 or an 8. If you can be there, we have a chance to make the playoffs, no doubt about it. And I do think that Chip Kelly's offense, predicated on precision passing, spreading you out, throwing the ball down the field, I don't know if you could have found a better quarterback that this team could have added realistically this offseason than Geno Smith. In all honesty, I go back and I think about all the Matthew Stafford conversations we had. Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback than Geno Smith. Not going to disagree with that statement at all. And I think the Raiders would be better with Stafford than Geno. Though I'd almost make the argument, and I think I could make the argument, that Geno might be a better fit for Chip Kelly's staff and Chip Kelly's offense than somebody like Stafford. And I don't think that it's that far off, which is why I laugh sometimes when I see people going, Geno's not better than Derek or Aiden's better than Geno. When you hear people say that, you just got to look at them and go, respectfully, I'm not going to change your mind, right? It's like trying to get a vegan to eat chicken. You're just probably not going to be the reason why they do it, and that's okay. Let's go to June. What up, June? The month I get married in. I'm surprised the Raiders haven't traded Michael Mayer. I am and I'm not at the same time. Like, I don't want the Raiders to trade Michael Mayer. I don't think any of y'all want the Raiders to trade Michael Mayer. Like, my question, why for yes and for no, would you want the Raiders to trade Mayer? Now, if you're going to give me a third or a fourth round pick, yeah, let's run it. And it wouldn't shock me to see that happen. But I would say after the year that he had previously, now he's getting ready to go on his third regime, you'd probably get a 6th-round pick at best for Mayer. And I don't want to give up a 6th-round pick for Michael Mayer. Geno did give him a shout-out, though. I don't know if he said his name right. He said Michael Mayer, which I can remember when I had my wing eating contest with Jonathan Henkins, and he's like, Michael Renz, what's up? And I'm like, you know what? Close enough, man. Well, let's do this damn thing. But I think that also goes to show, though, sometimes that players don't always know the guys on their team as well as what we think that they do, and that's just the truth. And Chugs and I always talk about it, how many NFL players we'll talk to, and they don't even know guys on their own team. I mean, the Marquette King statement where he's like, I never heard of Jimmy Garoppolo before, was one of the most outlandish things that I've ever heard. But to me, because you can use Brock Bowers as a receiver, and they know that they can use him as a receiver, I think it's also really important to try to keep Mayer there as that other tight end option. I mean, Chugs just said in the background, what do you think? We literally asked Marquette King, what do you think about Jimmy G when the Raiders signed him a few years ago in Vegas? And this was like off camera. He's like, I don't know who that is. Like, he had nothing to gain from lying to us that he didn't know who Jimmy Garoppolo was. He's like, I don't know who that is. And it was so unbelievable that to this day I still don't know. Yeah, we were at a Raiders event. It was pretty incredible, man. Let's go to Ryan J. McAndrew. Ryan, appreciate you tuning in. We got a few more super chats to get through, and then if we don't get any more, it's all good. We're just going to hop on out of here. Ryan, what up, Mitch? How was your weekend? Honestly, dude, I had a phenomenal weekend. 3-day weekend here at Chat Sports. Obviously, I had to work a little bit yesterday on Sunday. It was all good, though. Alex's family, her mom was in she's been at our house like for a week because she's been doing some stuff for like wedding cakes, and she's been trying to bake, and she's like trying to start this new company. So I hung out with the family a lot. My cousin, his name is Curtis. He's in town from central Pennsylvania, so him and I have been hanging out. I had a really, really great family weekend, which I needed. Plus, today is actually 60 days away from Alex and I getting married. So Alex and I, we did a lot of like wedding stuff over the weekend. All right, great press conference for Geno. What do you think of tomorrow's visit for Genty and Quinn Ewers? First off, also Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan, is going to be in that. And when I think of the Michigan defensive tackle notes that I have from the Combine, one of my top notes that I have written down, it's nothing to do with Mason Graham. One of my top notes was we were told that during the Mason Graham Combine interview, a lot of questions around Will Johnson came in, and maybe the Raiders are trying to like think of or hear what type of teammate is Will Johnson, by talking to Mason Graham. Could be an interesting thing to do. But also the Genty visit, this one doesn't shock me at all. John Spytek and the Raiders running back coach, the only GM and running back combo to go to the Boise State Pro Day was, in fact, the Las Vegas Raiders. The only team that Ashton Genty had dinner with after his Pro Day was, in fact, the Las Vegas Raiders, and it was Genty, the Boise State head coach, and then the Raiders running back coach McCullough, and then also, the GM and Spytek. But who? I think it was called Matadors. Yeah, Matadors in Boise is where they had food. I don't know what Genty got. Maybe. Genty seems like a guy, the way he looks, he could probably eat all the quesadillas, and it doesn't look like it affect him at all. The Quinn Ewers one, though, is intriguing to me, and I say that because I know Chip Kelly has been looking at quarterbacks that have high upside. And I have been saying for a long time that I believe the Raiders end up taking a quarterback on day 3. Quinn Ewers is the only quarterback that the Raiders are having a top 30 visit with, that they met with at the NFL Combine and ended up talking with him during like a pro day. So when you see all that stuff kind of coming down, and I know Quinn, Texas guy, okay? But he did go to Ohio State. And I know that he's got no overlap whatsoever with Chip Kelly, but I do wonder how many people that Chip worked with this past year knew Quinn Ewers and were like, dude, Chip, this guy's got unbelievable arm talent. He just needs to sit behind a dude for 2 to 3 years and then see what you got. Chip went up against him in the college football playoffs. Like, I bet you there was some parts of even recruiting. Like, Chip being a UCLA guy, I don't know if he ever had a shot to get Quinn Ewers, but there was probably a little bit of a recruiting process in that. Quinn has the talent. He just needs 2 to 3 years is what I would say to develop. And based on the contract that he just gave Geno Smith, it looks like it's a 2 to 3 year window. Quinn Ewers is a very, very sneaky name for the Raiders to look at on day 3. Let's go to Josh I, the MVP of the last show that we did. This crazy dude ended up hitting a gong, and there's a big reason why. We're going to be giving away, I think, a Raiders draft hat tomorrow. I got to go back and I got to look exactly, but when we go live tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern time, make sure you all show some love to Josh I. Geno going to run through that wall for this team. How many touchdown passes do you think we're getting this year? Oh, boy. I would say right now, also some random NFL news. The Jaguars have exercised the 5th-year option on number 1 overall pick Trayvon Walker. So random NFL news that just came in. So the prize picks more or less is 22.5. If you told me right now that this is the team that the Raiders are rolling with week 1 of the NFL season, I would probably say 23 touchdowns. And I'd even say maybe 21, 22, 23, because I believe that we're going to add a better running back, because I believe we're going to add another pass catcher, at least 1 or 2. The number that I'm hoping for is 27. And if Geno's able to get to 27, we are a playoff caliber team. Even if Geno doesn't get to 27, it's going to come down to, taking care of the football, not turning the ball over in the red zone, which was really what killed Geno last year. But with that being said, when you're in the red zone, and teams knew that if they brought pressure on Geno because of how bad that interior line was, it made it really, really difficult on Geno. That's why, yes, red zone interceptions need to be cleared up, but at the same time, you can't tell me that when you watch the film on Geno that he had a good pocket for many of the red zones that he trotted down to. Let's go to Patrick Roach. Patrick, thank you so much for supporting the show. If you want to get a question in, #Raiders, or you can super chat. I see the 805 Raider says 30 touchdowns. Joshua Garcia says 35 touchdowns for Geno. How many passing touchdowns do y'all think Geno Smith ends up having this year? Let me know down below. Lucy, any news on Hunter? I think this is Hunter Renfrow. Chuck said, is this Travis Hunter, ? Or Hunter? I think it's Hunter Renfrow. I'll answer both. Any update on Hunter Renfrow? No, but them bringing in Renfrow for a visit tells me that they are obviously looking for another slot receiver, somebody that they can use as a chain mover, which I would say the way that Geno relied on Jackson Smith and Jigba, you kind of already have that in Jacoby Myers, but could you also find somebody that could just be a solid third down, chain mover? And that's what Hunter Renfrow would be. If they brought him in, it'd be a very, very cheap contract. I said $2, maybe $3 million in incentives to get up to that number. If you're talking about Travis Hunter, I would say there's a 5 to 10% chance Hunter's there at 6. Chug said he might be going 2 to the Browns. The question around Hunter has been, people know that he's an absolute unbelievable athlete, but there's been real rumors that teams are concerned that because he wants to play both ways, he's not going to be great at either. There's been some rumors around that, and if you're a team and you know that this guy's going to want to play both ways, that could scare some teams off him. It could. Travis Hunter, though, is an unbelievable player. It's all good. I think I answered both. I don't see Travis Hunter, though, falling to the Raiders at 6. If he's there on the board, it would be tough to say no to Travis Hunter, considering the Raiders need a corner and they need a wide receiver. It would be tough to say no to him. And if you want to go best player available, he would be best player available. And I don't see how he wouldn't be best player available. Let's go to my man, Rustin Long. What up, Rustin? What up, Mitch? And Chugs, I'm hyped for the draft to see us pick up another free agent or 2. Driving to D.C. right now for the Dodger games for my 40th. As always, love the nation. Happy birthday, 40 years old for Rustin Long. Is your birthday today? Like exactly today? I don't know, but stop. I don't think the Dodgers have ruined baseball. I think baseball has ruined baseball. Just put a salary cap in. Like I'm not going to get mad at a team for following, not even following the rules, for doing what they can to win. And that's the annoying part where, I'm sure Dodgers fans are feeling the same way. You're like, why am I going to get mad at a team for having the most money? But they kind of did what I was saying that the Raiders might do, where they got all these different owners, they got a big pot of money, and now they go out there and they spend, but there's no salary cap. Sure. I think I can understand the frustration, but at the exact same time, the Chiefs have won more Super Bowls the past few years than what the Dodgers have, and they're off to a hot start early, but April baseball might be the most pointless, worthless thing in sports.
I'll say this. Dodgers and what they're doing now, bigger cheaters than the Astros.
Oh, stop. That I can't get on board with. Speaking of Astros, speaking of Houston, who do you guys got tonight in the Natty? Florida or Houston? Chugs and I are rocking with Houston, and if Houston wins, I win the Chat Sports March Madness bracket, which, great for me. And I just found out yesterday that I have a chance to win because I haven't been able to log in, or I forget my login. So I just went to the link, checked it out. If Houston wins tonight, I make some money. I hope the Raiders draft Jalen Milrose is a project. I do think Jalen Milroe is a project, and if you were looking for a quarterback that has upside, I would love Milroe. Milroe, I'd have him over Quinn Ewers. I'd rather Milroe over Will Howard. I'd rather Milroe over somebody along the lines of a Kyle McCord, and I say that simply because of the upside. That guy is an alien, and if you allow an alien to work with Tom Brady, Chip Kelly, Greg Olsen, John Spytek, and you allow him to learn for 2 to 3 years under a Geno Smith with an Aiden O'Connell type of competition, I think that's going to bring the best out of Jalen, because Jalen with Nick Saban in 2023 was a lot better than what the Milroe you saw last season at Alabama, and there was a lot of changes at Alabama. We can't say what we usually say for quarterbacks when there's a different head coach, different offensive coordinator, different all these changes, and then when something happens to a college quarterback, we don't say the exact same thing. Jalen Milroe needs structure. And I don't think he had a lot of structure last year. What's up, Austin? This is the final Super Chat on today's show. Let's go, Raiders. Austin, cheers to you, man. So for those that do not know, tomorrow we will be live at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Make sure your notifications are turned on. Make sure you click that subscribe button. I appreciate everyone that tuned in to our show today. We decided to go live for the news around Geno Smith doing his press conference, which we like to be able to do from time to time, and I would hope that I am able to do some of this stuff moving forward and continuously doing that. But since we don't have any more Super Chats, I think it's going to be time for Chugs and I to hop on out of here. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Geno Smith, welcome to the nation.